Hello there and welcome to this episode of BFG Reviews. As always, I want to start by saying thanks to anyone that's watched my previous videos and remind everyone to please like, share, and subscribe. With that out of the way, on to this week's review, which is... Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Directed by George Miller, written by George Miller and Nick Lathouris, and starring Anya Taylor-Joy as Furiosa, Chris Hemsworth as Dementis, Tom Burke as Praetorian Jack, and LeChey Hume as Immortan Joe. This film follows the titular Furiosa as she is taken from her abundant home, the Green Place, by a marauding biker horde led by the warlord Dementis. Along for the ride, the Horde and young Furiosa eventually come across the Citadel, commanded by Immortan Joe. While the two tyrants wage a war over control of the wasteland, Furiosa must survive long enough to put together a plan on how to get back home. Before getting into my thoughts on Furiosa, I want to give my thoughts on the Mad Max franchise, in particular Fury Road, as I have not seen any other Mad Max film. That being said, I loved Fury Road. It was an unexpected instant classic with insane practical effects, extreme action, and a story anyone could connect with. That's why it's a pleasure to say that Furiosa is a more than worthy follow-up to 2015's Mad Max Fury Road. This film is packed full of action from beginning to end, has characters that we grow to care about, a villain that is endlessly fun to watch, and a story with a very relatable theme, despite taking place after a nuclear apocalypse. The action and in-camera stunts are again what helps this franchise stand out from the sea of high-budget action blockbusters. Each action set piece felt unique, with the battle scenes being wonderfully choreographed and beautifully shot. The extended war rig battle and Furiosa and Jack escaping from the bullet farm were especially exhilarating. While the film was not lacking in violence, it never felt gratuitous, and almost every shot in this film was breathtaking. George Miller again proves that he is a visual mastermind. I did say almost, however. There were a couple of moments in the film that seemed a bit off. I don't know if it was weird color grading or bad CG, but there were a few shots where the characters didn't match up with the backgrounds. And there was one moment with a CGI lizard that was completely unnecessary and unrealistic and almost took me out of the film. I also had some slight issues with the editing. There were multiple shots, especially in the beginning, that felt like they were cut a few seconds too early. But these issues are minor, as the film as a whole is a spectacle for the eyes. Also, despite knowing Furiosa's fate, the action scenes still felt tense and like they had stakes. Part of this came from the film making you care about other characters besides our leading lady. Speaking of, the two main characters, Furiosa and Dementis, were incredible. Anya Taylor-Joy was spectacular as the slightly younger Furiosa. She gave this reserved yet intense performance. Having only a handful of lines, she adds to the tortured nature of the character. There was one character choice from her, near the beginning of the film, that did really irritate me. Not to get into specifics, but basically, Furiosa had a chance to escape and make it home, but instead ran straight into Dementis' arms. I understand she was a child, but we were shown, even at her young age, Furiosa understands how vital it is to keep her home a secret. So it just seemed a bit forced. Other than that nitpick, Anya Taylor-Joy's Furiosa was a nearly impeccable character. And Chris Hemsworth was phenomenal as the villain Dementis. He is hamming it up, stealing every scene he's in as he gives these eloquent yet demented monologues and soliloquies. And it's his final speech to Furiosa that gives his character this added depth that pushes him beyond the basic, crazy, and sadistic bad guy. By the end of the film, Hemsworth's Dementis is a character that you both love to hate and hate that you love. The last character I want to talk about is Praetorian Jack, who is clearly the Mad Max stand-in for this film. I thought Tom Burke was excellent. He brought this mysterious gentleness to the character, and it was nice to see someone that's actually a decent person, given the circumstances. You may not completely understand why he decides to help Furiosa, but as the film progresses and she begins to trust and even care about him, you find yourself doing the same. I actually think it's the inclusion of Burke's Jack that helps elevate Furiosa beyond the typical action film. There's an endlessly relatable theme in this film of letting go in order to move forward, or potentially losing yourself trying to recapture the past. The entire film, Furiosa is trying to get back what she had lost when she was taken as a child. But by the end, she learns that she either has to let go of what she lost or risk ending up just as ruthless as Dementis. And it's when she's working with Jack does Furiosa begin to see a potential, hopeful future. The film is also surprisingly funny. Despite dealing with plenty of darker themes and moments, most of that humor for me came from Chris Hemsworth's over-the-top performance. And from two of the characters being named Ballsack and Butthole. Those aren't their exact names, but it's close enough. This film is just a blast and an overall enjoyable time at the theater. Because, in the end, Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, is an impressive follow-up to 2015's Fury Road, and a prequel that tells an origin story that only adds to its predecessor. Besides a couple minor editing and effects issues, Furiosa is a high-octane action thriller with compelling characters and highly relatable themes that leaves you on the edge of your seat from start to finish. And that's why I give Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, an A letter grade, and suggest you see this one in theaters on the biggest screen you can. So, those are my thoughts on 2024's Furiosa. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down under. I'm sorry, I just had to do it. As well as your thoughts on my art or what other films you'd like me to review. Thanks everyone, make sure you hit that like button, and I hope you have a furious day.